Of the day, what is your favorite type of roll and write? That's right, we're far enough into this genre now that you have so many ones. You have things like dice harvest, which are very simple, basic. Here's a dice, take that, mark the symbol. All the way up to things like Roman roll with David Terzi, where it's like heavy. Then you have things in between like paper dungeons, in which you're doing a dungeon crawler dice game. What is your favorite kind? Because today we're talking about a more advanced, full style game that is a roll and write. This is Dinosaur Island Rawr N Write. This is a roll and write game set in the Dinosaur Island universe, in which you are doing a lot of the same thing you were doing in the original game, but in a roll and write fashion. Let's take a look how it plays, what it does. We'll come back up, talk final thoughts right now. All right, this is Dinosaur Island Rawr N Write. You will get two pieces of paper, one with your actual park, as well as a couple different things where you keep your DNA and your dinosaurs, you keep track of those, as well as you will have the side over here, which keeps track of your attractions, your specialist, your Dyno Tour. This is where you score points. This is essentially keeping track of what your game does. And over here is the excitement meter. These are what's gonna give you your points, etc. in the end of the game. Now, you also keep track of your death toll here. Don't want that. Not even the lawyers like that, right? Remember that? Great movie. Point being, you have this section out here of the main board as well. You're going to choose 3 of these buildings and 3 of these specialists. This will change each time you play. And then you're going to put the board on the correct side, 2 to 3 players right here. Then you're going to take the cube, set it onto the first of the dice rounds. And what you're going to do for these action rounds, first of all, you're going to choose enough dice. So let's say we're doing 2 players. So you're going to choose 5 dice. You're going to roll the dice, and then you're going to draft the dice in a snake draft. Of the symbols of dice, you can collect DNA. The DNA are used, just like in the regular game, to build dinosaurs. So in order to build a brachiosaur, you would need a yellow and a red. It would grant you 1 excitement, and then 2 points per brachiosaur at the end of the game. You can have up to 4 of these. Now you cannot build more than 4 of the same type of dinosaur. When you build a new dinosaur, you're going to put its paddock out here by drawing it. The shape you're going to need to draw is the shape listed here. So here, here, and here. So 2 by 2, 3 by 3, 4 by 4. You would then go to your board, now this is an already used sheet, and draw it. So our brachiosaur right here, 2 by 2, put a B there. The X we'll talk about in a minute. The roads in between are connecting them, and we'll talk about how you get those. Your security is right here. Let's talk about that for a second. When you gain dinosaurs, some of them will add threat. Threat will go in this meter by putting a dot. Each time you circle the dot, now I got my cootie shot, circle, circle, dot, dot, right? Remember those? You will then have enough security to protect from that danger. If your dot ever exceeds the security by this point, you're going to have to add to the death toll, which will eventually cause you to start losing stuff in your park. So you will draw your map up here. So things like roads will connect these buildings. You have buildings as well, things like merch, rides, and food, as well as the specialty buildings like the Hot Spring Mud Spa, which you're also going to draw out here. This will give you instantly a restaurant or a food building, and then it will give you 6 points per collection of all 3 buildings at the end of the game. Now, when you draw them, you don't have to build them adjacent to anything with a road. You can build them by themselves out here. They cannot touch any other building save the edge of the board. They can touch the edge of the board, but they can't touch another building even by the corners. Even in the corners touching, you can't do that. So you'll mark everything out here. This is what you have. Really quick though, I want to go to the Dyno Tour part just to show what's happening. In the phase called Dyno Tour here, you're going to draw a line from your HQ, not an actual line, but trace a line essentially, through the buildings. Each one you trace through to an exit, you'll then mark an X on, and each of those that you did will raise your excitement level by 1. At the end of the game, you're going to get points per exit you've attached to. Once you've drawn an X in a building, you can trace through it again, but you don't get to count the excitement for it again. That's the Dyno Tour. I just wanted to show you that because it's the only other spatial element that's important out here besides building the buildings, the dinosaurs, etc. The dinosaurs themselves don't actually get marked on the board. They get marked down here on the map. Now, one other thing I want to show you is the dice. So we see how to use the DNA, right? You're going to collect the DNA by circling it, and then you're going to put an X to it to show that you've used it. That's how you show which dinosaurs you bought, essentially. On your turn, you're going to take a dice. When you take a dice, you don't take the threat, but whatever dice is left in the middle, both of you will take the threat, but you'll also get the benefit from it. So it's 1, then 1, 2, then back to 1 for the first player. Snake draft. This gives you DNA. This gives you an instant ride in your park. You do not collect benefits with an arrow next to them until it's the run the park phase, which happens after 2 action phases. So we've now collected our dice. This dice goes over here, and then we're gonna do dice placement. So over here, you've got 5 action spaces. This is make up to 4 dinosaurs, which means you spend your DNA to make dinosaurs, get the excitement, get the threat, all such as that. Build paddocks if you have to. This is take 2 coins or raise or do 2 security. When you collect coins, they can go to a couple of different areas. Number 1, your generic specialists here all cost 3. However, in the game, we have set up these special specialists out here. They have different costs in the top right. You will fill this in, so this is our C when that's our ride operator. Once you've collected all 3 coins here, you'll then mark that you have the ride operator by putting a note here. Then you have access to the ride operator's powers, which immediately gives you 1 excitement. And then when you run the park as a specialist, you gain a coin per ride in the park, which is pretty great. Or you could throw it towards the buildings. There are buildings over here, just like that, for these specialty buildings. The cost is in the top right corner. Once you build them, once you have enough coins in there, you'll draw it on the board, take the immediate benefits, and then you'll do the in-game scoring in the bottom right. That's what you use coins for. Security, you'll circle these spaces here to mitigate threat. Here, gain any 2 DNA regular style, that would be yellow, blue, or red, or gain 1 of the rare DNA, that'd be orange, purple, or green. Here, gain 2 times the dice face, all opponents gain 1. This means that if I put this here, I would gain 2 of the blue DNA, everybody else would gain 1. You cannot put attractions there, so you couldn't put the ride there and gain 2 rides. This one's gain 3 roads or build an attraction. So the attractions would be the buildings. The roads are what we talked about here. 3 of them will allow you to connect buildings together to run the park. Once we've done those actions, one other thing to note, if there's a die there and I want to use that space, I can use the space. I just have to take the threat listed on that die. There's 1 threat here. That would give me a threat. Doesn't matter what you put on your die on top, it only matters what's there. Now, however, if someone wanted to go there now, they would gain 2 threat because there's 2 threats showing on my face there. That's the dice. Then you're gonna run the park like this. You're gonna start with all your attractions, which really and truly, you don't even have to look at this part. You can do all of this based on here. So I have 0 listed, but let's say I had 2 of these, 2 of these, and 2 of these. I would gain 2 dice and roll them and collect their benefits. That's what merch shops do. Rides, I would gain excitement, and then food, I would gain coins. Then you're gonna do your specialist. The instant bonuses you would have gotten when you hired them, the running the park bonuses you're gonna get now. So this is gain of security, 2 roads, and make up to 2 dinosaurs. Then you're gonna do your HQ, running the park. That's the tracing through the park we mentioned. Then, here's the real income. Based on what you have circled in your excitement, you're gonna collect every single one of the things in the green. So that would be, if you got all the way down here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coins, 1, 2 rare DNAs, 2 simple DNAs, and then 2 security. That's a lot of benefits. If your security doesn't meet your threat level, you take the death toll. You're gonna do this 3 rounds, and then the person with the most points wins the game. So that is Rawr N Write. First and foremost, the game looks brilliant because it uses the same art style as the original game. It has always been one of my favorite looking games, the Dinosaur Island style games, because of the way they look is just 90s, it's retro, the big bright bold colors, the DNA looking very cartoony, like little things about it just to me work. I love the very sharp corners of things, that are very much square. Like it reminds me of something that would have come out in the 90s, and it's great. The art in this game is great. So, we already know that because you've seen the original, and this follows up on that. The art direction of the actual Rawr N Write, because Rawr N Write's really, really live or die on art direction, on how the art on the paper that you're using influences what you do, and if it's clear what you can do and what you need to do. My only gripe, and this is a rule suggestion, you don't actually have to do this, is the whole a specialist costs 3, so go ahead and color in 3 of the bubbles on the back. I don't like that. I don't know why. I get it because it's telling you a limit, but I think you can figure out, I have 2, it costs 3, I just need 1 more. That's my only quibble with the art direction in this game, because the symbols make sense, the art makes sense, the colors make sense, the instant effects make sense, as well as the income makes sense during running the park. So art and art direction are top notch in this game, minus that one little quibble that's a rule suggestion that I don't even think you have to follow. Anyway, how does the game play? This might be my favorite roll and write, only because, let me take that back. Dungeon Scrawlers or Paper Dungeons is my favorite roll and write in a traditional sense of roll and write. This game to me is one of the best roll and writes out there because it doesn't feel like a roll and write for those who don't like roll and writes. It does feel like a roll and write for those who do like roll and writes. Here's what I mean by that. This feels like a worker placement game that involves rolling and writing, because you're actually collecting dice, getting the benefits on your area instead of maybe grabbing some resources or grabbing some DNA or holding little tokens. You're actually just marking it on your paper and then you mark it out. I think that is brilliant. In fact, this might be the doorway opening into more games like this, where we've seen the massive overproduction of games, which is great. I love overproduction. I'm looking at Ankh and Batman and all sorts of stuff that's overly produced, and I adore it. But sometimes, wouldn't it be nice if you could just keep all of your information on a couple pieces of paper instead of having to collect and get and set and put these coins and these resources and these? Here's what I love about this. This game feels like Dinosaur Island. But it feels like Dinosaur Island without having to do a bunch of setup. The setup for this game is grab 3 specialists, 3 buildings, here's 2 pieces of paper and a pencil, let's go. I love that, but you're also getting the same feel as Dinosaur Island. Now, yes, there are certain things you're not doing, like pulling guests out of there, but I like the mechanic of running the park. I think the running the park and running in order of buildings, then specialists, then all this, I think that's fantastic. To me, this is a perfect example of how to do a roll and write genre in a way that elevates both genres that it's trying to do, from the worker placement, putting those dice out there, because you're actually doing dice placement at that point, to actually doing a roll and write. This is a perfect marriage of roll and write with its theme in a way that makes it a believable, fun game. So, Rawr N Write is a huge win. If you like Dinosaur Island, 100% get this game. You will love this game. And it kind of reminds me of how Terraforming Mars and Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, if you say, hey, let's play Terraforming Mars, and I don't see which box you get, I don't care which one you bring to the table because they're both excellent. Same way. If I say, hey, go grab Dinosaur Island, and you don't know which one I mean, I don't care which one you bring to the table because they're both equally good. That's high praise, because usually a derivative style game loses something. This absolutely doesn't. This is a tremendous, phenomenal game. Huge fan. Cannot say enough good things about Rawr N Write. You will love this game if you get it. It's an 8.5 out of 10 for me. Love this game. So I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan. Until next time, we'll see you.